It's on, but it's right.
Okay,
It's a minute.
everybody's on.
Give me 1 minute here.
Debbie, did you read everything?
Yes,
Okay,
We're live now.
we're live. I'm gonna call to order the Franklin Regional Board of School Directors emergency meeting for November 23rd, 2020. We'll stand for the salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of the
United
United
States
States of America
and
and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice.
Okay, reading of the mission statement. We, the Franklin Regional School community, strive for excellence, learning, achievement, and citizenship in all we do. Ms. Wolf, roll call.
Mr. Shiner,
here,
Mr. Moderator,
Here.
Mr. Nevin,
He's not on.
Mr. Kozlowski,
Here.
Mrs. Tower,
Here,
Mr. Gant,
Present.
Mrs. Woolene,
here,
Mr. Weinman,
Here.
Mr. Yingling.
Here,
Thank you.
okay. The only one that's not on is Greg. I'm sure we'll get on here shortly. Okay, we were in executive session on the 29th of November from 3:30 to approximately 5:15 for legal, health, and safety issues. Reports and information, Dr. Pirano.
Thank you, Mr. President. On December 7th, we will have our 3 meetings in one night, which is the board reorganization meeting, the committee of the whole meeting, and the regular board meeting. That will start at 7:30 p.m. The meetings will be live streamed on our YouTube channel. And that concludes reports and information for this evening.
Thank you. Public comments, we had 9 public comments sent in. I'm sure everybody got them, and I hope you read them. Solicitors' comments,
I have no comments at this time, Mr. President.
thank you. Okay, public school attestation. You want to explain that, Dr. P?
I do. And so today was a flurry from this morning when we received updated guidance from the governor of Pennsylvania and the Secretary of Health, and then an attestation document that that the board president and the superintendent needs to sign if we're going to continue with in-person instruction. And so that being said, we received guidance as it related to the public health guidance for school communities and recommendations for schools following identification of a positive case of COVID-19. And under the public health guidance, we received specific information pertaining to a mask and face covering update that was issued by the Pennsylvania Secretary of Health, as well as travel restriction requirements that should any staff or employee leave the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and then return within 72 hours of returning to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they're required to provide a negative COVID-19 test in order to be non-quarantined. Should they not get the test, then they're required to quarantine for 14 days. And so that information was provided during our update today. And then following that, about 1:30, we received information regarding the need to sign an attestation stating that we agree to follow the masking guidelines and the guidelines for school closures. And the guidelines for school closures relates to the number of cases over a rolling 14-day period. And it used to be, it provided a specific number of cases as well as latitude to use the percentage of students and staff within a school building. And it was up to 5% or 5% or over who tested positive for the COVID-19. And so This new set of guidelines is based upon the size of the building in terms of the number of students. And it bases it upon small, medium, and large. And so looking at those guidelines, and Brad, am I able to share my screen, please?
Yes, it should be a need. Okay, good.
Go ahead. You got it.
All right. So if you take a look at this, these new guidelines, if a building has less than 500 students, and our only building that falls into this category would be Newlandsburg, one student or staff, the school does not need to close, but it needs to clean the area where the case person spent time. And then at that point, the public health staff, which is often assisted by our nurses, will direct close contacts to quarantine. In a building of this size, if that's if it's in low. If the county designation is in moderate, the school does not need to close. And the same thing with substantial. So it follows that mindset if it's one student or staff. If it's 2 to 4 staff and students in the same building who are not in the same household or household contacts, it talks about the need to close for 3 to 5 days. Clean if you're in low, clean the areas where the case time spent during the day, and public health staff or our nursing staff under their guidance will direct close contacts to quarantine. If we're in moderate, it's 3 to 7 days. And if we're in substantial, and before it usually just lists substantial as being recommended to close. And now with the attestation, it provides guidance should you decide not to close it despite your county designation. And that's 3 to 7 days there. And then for 5 or more students in a building of that size, it's a 14-day closure. Now it's important, if you take a look, if case investigations, contact tracing, and cleaning and disinfecting can be accomplished in a faster time frame, the length of closure time may be shortened. So with that being said, the purpose to close a school is for those reasons. One is to provide our health staff the necessary time to complete case investigations and contact tracing. Second reason is to evaluate current school mitigation and strategies and practices, and then to provide us with time and the necessary information to make changes to our practices, and then provide district maintenance custodial staff the time to properly clean and disinfect the schools. And that is what really has kept us open to date in terms of our work with the Department of Health. Our nurses have done a fantastic job of doing case investigations as well as contact tracing. And they've done that both for cases that inside the school that are reportable. That means the student or a staff member was in school while they're contagious, or what's not reportable when they're not in school when they are contagious. We're still doing those case investigations, both not only for in-school close contacts, but also for out-of-school contacts. And that is really taking the burden off the Department of Health and enabled us to stay open in those situations. Also, given the fact that in school, we have 6 feet between desks, and we're requiring masks to be worn, one-way hallways, reduced number of students in the cafeteria, and all of those other mitigating factors, that we haven't received any recommendations for things to change in that category either. And finally, with the Bactronics machine, we have the ability to go right into an area and disinfect that area completely with the Bactronics machine. So that has helped tremendously in those areas. But coming down, if a building is 500 to 900 students, that would include every school except for the high school. This number has moved to 1 to 3 students or staff within a rolling 14-day period. And in those situations, the school does not need to close, but we need to clean where those students have been, and then quarantine those who have been in close contact. If we have 4 to 6 students in the same building or staff who are not household contacts, the recommendation is to close 3 to 5 days for low incidence rates, 3 to 7 for moderate, and 3 to 7 for substantial. Again, remember, I just went through the reasons why you close the building and why it may not be as long as this. And finally, if you have 7 or more students or staff in the same building, and it requires a closure of 14 days to clean the entire school and to direct